And we're live. Hi, welcome to Dev Support Office Hours. Today is Monday. It's October 27th, the October 27th edition of OUYA Dev Support Office Hours. Joining us, as always, live, somewhere in the Culver City area, Mr. Jared Jacob.
Hello, everyone.
Somewhere nearby, Miss Kelly Santiago. Somewhere in the Seattle region is Mr. Tim Groutman.
Hey.
And we're here to talk about all things. Let me open up Q&A in case someone comes on with a developer-related question. We got a lot to talk about. We've got cool news and things, and Tim has some cool stuff to talk about with Construct 2, which he just put in support for. So we could jump right into Just the Facts with Jared Yeager for all the developer-centric news fit to print.
Cool. I will keep this quick today, but significant. So we've got Skulls of the Shogun coming out tomorrow from our good friends at 17-bit. So look out for that. Along with that, I want to also touch upon the OTA update that we talked about before. It's definitely still coming. We are working on some additional feature updates, James and the team, the whole engineering team, bug fixes, and just really want it to be super as polished as possible. So we will actually be pushing it out of this week into the following week. We do apologize for that delay, but it's to just make it as awesome as possible and to really go after any kind of legacy stuff and things that we've been wanting to address, and I know that you've been wanting to address as well. And James will be able to speak to that when we do the OTA announcement, which we can at least say the name of it for those of you who are curious. It is seasonally related. I won't go into the background for it. You can look it up on the wonderful World Wide Web. The OTA is called Chickcharney, which we've not been able to stop ourselves from saying around the office to each other, even as a greeting. So Chickcharney update is coming soon. Again, apologies for that delay, but it's to really just make it as awesome as possible. Like I said before, we got bundles, we got awesome smooth scrolling going on in there, lots of cool bug fixes, user-created content, and Bob's been working with James on some cool stuff on that side. So yeah, get prepped for that. Also, this week we're gonna have some really cool Halloween sales coming at you. Minigore 2. Zombies already went live 50% off. We got Whispering Willows about to go live. Killing Floor Calamity. Zombie Driver HD. So for those of you who are watching on the consumer side, they're all beginning to kick in live. You'll be able to see them all on the Halloween. Actually, it's the Booyah Spooky playlist, which is already live. But you'll be able to see all those sales running no later than tomorrow morning. So stay tuned for all of that. But yeah, keeping it nice and brief. That's pretty much it on my side.
Cool. I said cool like 5 times before I unmuted. Cool. Thanks, Jared.
Chickcharney.
Yes, people should Google what Chickcharney is because it's hard to describe. That's all. Hey, hey, Tim.
Yeah. The time?
Is it time?
Okay, cool.
To rock with Groutman?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll share my screen. I have a new plugin for Construct 2, and I'll just show you a quick little thing about how to get it set up and how to debug with it. So I'll show you that now. First, screen share.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah?
What's Construct 2 again, for those uninitiated?
It's a visual scripting engine. So instead of programming with script, it's more visually based, and you have like an event thing. So we've got some documentation about it. I recorded like the details of how to set it up, and you can watch that video. And what it actually looks like is this gears button. So yeah, so it's like a visual layout, kind of similar to Unity, where you have like a layout to place your game items, and then it's got an event sheet versus script. So everything's modular, and you just drag and drop different events, and you put them together without doing any programming. And if you do program, there's ways to hook that up with a plugin system. And then when you're done, you can run it on the OUYA, and I've made a little virtual controller example. See, so you see the buttons highlight, and so controller integration is there. I've got the placeholder stuff for in-app purchase. I just have to add the visual parts for that. So if you're a scripter, you could probably make it work, but I want to have like drag and drop events for the event sheet when you integrate that. And I'll have videos behind that when that's ready. So to get it on the OUYA, you start with being in Construct 2, and I just go File, Export Project, and I export it as a HTML5 website. I hit Next, make sure Minify is off for now, and then you specify the path where it's going to output the HTML5, and I hit Next and Export, and I can just go back, and that actually produces a build. So it builds the HTML5 for your Construct 2 game with the OUYA plugin in it, and you get that example from our documentation section. So in Construct 2, if you scroll down, there's a section on virtual controller, and here's a link to download the Construct 2 file that has this project. Okay, anyways, and then from here you export to HTML5, you get this build thing, and then using our other build system for HTML5 apps, I can unpack the existing pre-built templates, and then I go over to the build that we just output from Construct 2, and I can zip that as a zip file, and then it goes into a special place within the content shell, resources, raw, and it's this web archive jar file, and you just rename the build file to that web archive. It's okay to change the extension, and I just drag and drop it over here. Replace that archive. Some other things that you can replace within resources is the drawable. Here's where you put your small icon, and drawable X HDPI for the larger icon that appears in the store. And then I drop back to the web archive template. This folder is what you check out with OUYA SDK examples. And I just run this repackage script here, and it goes and it includes the HTML5 website that I dropped in, and it builds a Unity package and then installs it on the OUYA. Does all the signing, the key store stuff, then the install command to install that Android package. And when it's done, it takes about 17 seconds to install. We'll say success, there we go. Okay. And then it's installed on the OUYA. And then here's the cool stuff. So you're doing Construct 2. You also have a debugger. So once I go and I launch that on the OUYA, I can open up Canary. That's the latest version of Chrome. So you install Google Canary. So I'll drop this down here. And there's an ADB plugin, which is referenced in the docs, where you click the Android little button, and I can say View Inspection Targets. And when I launched on the OUYA, this little inspection target appears, and this is on the desktop. So I can debug from my desktop, even though it's running on the OUYA. And I hit Inspect, and then it opens up the debugging tool. So you can see the sources, you can debug, set breakpoints. If you're familiar with Construct 2, it's got the Construct 2 runtime. And you can just set a breakpoint, and then it'll land on various breakpoints. Or you can even inject input. So it's a good way to write plugins, it's a good way to debug your code, and it's a good way to debug Construct 2 code. Make plugins, all kinds of stuff. You can even execute different statements. Okay, so I'll put them side by side so we can do something. So one cool thing we can do is simulate input. So I can say like on key down for the first controller. I can set the so I can say that button's down, and when I run that command, I can test out my app without actually using a controller and debug what happens when you press the O button or if you unpress it. So on key up, that would unpress it. And it's instant. In the capture, you're saying it's 3 seconds behind just because of streaming or whatever. And there's other things like on generic motion event, first controller, OUYA controller, tell it to use like the left stick. I can say move it to the -1 because the values range from -1 to 1. So if I run that, you'll see the stick move. And I can say like, okay, highlight the left stick. Let's see, that would be an on key down event. So there's that. I can also look at the source. Let's say I wanted to debug something like that. So in the construct runtime, I could look for those events like on, key down. Here we go. So here's the function. And basically it handles the mapping for OUYA for everywhere so that the buttons come in no matter what controller you're using. It'll behave as though it's an OUYA controller, and it passes that into the gamepad API. So here's a case down here that when I press the OUYA button, so I can click right here, and if I hit the OUYA button on the controller, it'll land on that breakpoint. And then you have all the cool debugging tools where you can step through. You've got a watch, a scope, call stack. With the watch, you can alter buttons, inspect things, and then the console, you can run custom commands and do all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so that's Construct 2. Go to the Construct 2 page. There's some videos. Here we go, Construct 2. So definitely a virtual controller example and a detailed video where I go through, it's 20 minutes, I go through the setup of how the virtual controllers work and step by step.
Question.
Yeah.
So what you just showed was kind of what you can see in the 20-minute video, right?
Yep.
So
although I didn't in the video, I didn't really show the debugger part, so
okay.
that's new.
So the controller specific stuff is that the more like programmer intensive type stuff you'll have to do? Because so when I'm just wondering if there's like if you could show the other elements that are less programmer.
Yeah. So it covers all the non-programmer stuff. So if we go to the layout, here's our basic layout, all the different sprites. Go through that. Go through like you want to add an OUYA SDK object so that it includes the plugin. Then you go onto your event sheet, and I kind of go through. Okay, these are events. You can double-click events, and this is where you set up the button for the event. So like when the O button is pressed, or go back. This is the scripting part of the engine. So everything is visual. So it's like, oh, okay, is button down, next. So when the O button is down, then it will do this action. So then actions are things like I'm changing the visibility of a sprite on my layout, and I'm saying, okay, set the O button visible. So if I go back one more, events are like, what object is the event going to interact with? And this is where I specify, oh, it's going to be the O button. Next, I want it to run the set visible action. Next, and then I can toggle visibility.
So it's different from like the Unreal, because I swear on that one you could do like these like flow charts, like visualize it like that.
Yeah, this is basically a flow chart where it's like, okay, controller 1 here is a group, so I was able to group a bunch of events together. The section at the top, those are global variables for some constants I used. And then everything is event, and then action.
So people can go to your documentation, and this bit is already sort of laid out as like a tutorial.
Yep. So I go through like, you can check for button is down with button is down, and I added the little OUYA codes in there so it's easy to select from. So you'll see like by default it didn't have the right hand side, so I added the OUYA labels in there so you don't have to say, oh, what's button A, what's button B? Well, it's the OUYA button and the various buttons. And then the second part is, okay, so when you have a game, you're going to interact with buttons, and then I use every tick event, like an update event, to access the axes, where I'm using set position on a sprite to access the gamepad.raw access. So that's important, gamepad.raw access, when you want to access the axis values from the controller axis.
So this stuff we can like link in our show notes and stuff like we always do. Is there anything else you would recommend for people to like get to know Construct 2, or can they like learn everything via your documentation?
I covered the controllers in detail in that first video, but there is more tutorials on the Construct 2 website.
Okay.
So on our info page, we've got our forums and they've got their community forums, got the video, links to download the thing. Um, and basically, I guess on their website, there's definitely tutorials because that's where what I watched to get this going. So
Cool.
and then Caleb helped me out a lot. He's the one that made Be Active. So go and play Be Active on OUYA.
That's the workout game, right?
You're a bee and you fly around.
Oh, right, Caleb. Yes, that's not the workout game.
Okay. Yeah. Tutorials, and this is a non-programming engine, so you don't have to be a programmer to use it. And they've got guides how to make a platform game.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so basically what I did there is I took the HTML5 website, wrapped it in Chromium, which gives you accelerated WebGL, which means your game's going to run fast. And it's going to work with OUYA Everywhere input. So that means if we had support for another controller, you don't have to update your game, it'll just support that. Or if we put the OUYA store in another thing like Mojo, your game's going to support Mojo already. And yeah, less to program and more stuff working, and I have more coming where I'll add in-app purchase support.
Sweet. Thanks, man. This is cool. This is very beginner-friendly stuff.
Hmm.
I want to try it. Tim, if I start working and I just run into a snag and I don't know what I'm doing, who can I email?
Email me, and also that's kind of why I've created this forums subsection. So on our OUYA forums, I'm checking this a lot, where if you go onto the Construct 2 section, you can ask questions, and that's one way to talk because you'll get feedback from the community and me, or you can
Cool.
email me directly and we can do like a one-on-one session. So
Are there quite a few devs working on Construct 2 stuff, or?
yeah, there's quite a few games, and actually if you check out the Construct 2 website, you can see all the new games that are coming out for Construct 2, and those could come right to OUYA. So think about it.
I'm pretty excited because as a total noob with no programming understanding, out of all the engines we've looked at, I feel like this one has the best like beginner tools for someone like me. So I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. Um, do you have any final thoughts? Like Jerry Springer's final thoughts?
Yeah, just remember, if you get stuck, you can use the debugger. It's kind of neat because you can debug things on your desktop while it's running remotely on the OUYA. I think that's kind of cool.
Cool. I'm gonna transition to the other side of game development. Um, Kelly Santiago, our resident developer best friend, was recently in GDC China and did a talk on well, I should probably just transfer over so she could summarize it better than me. If she's close to the mute button, there she is.
I am. I was just looking. I realized I hadn't put my banner up, but
Oh,
I should like print out one to just hold up in case of an emergency. Yeah, I was at GDC China and did a talk on. It was called Prototyping for Innovation, but it was really about how to effectively like produce your game as an independent developer. So I started with just talking about two really commonly referenced production methodologies. One is called the Cerny method, which is called that because it's based on this 2002 talk Mark Cerny did, who is an awesome developer and engineer, and he was also the architect, the system architect for the PlayStation 4. So that's what you might have most recently know him or recognize him by being on the Sony stage at the press conferences around that. And then also Agile Scrum, and all of them reject the idea that when you start out on a game project, you know exactly how long it's going to take and what it is you're going to deliver. And they both present ideas on basically how to sort of iterate on your understanding of the project as you go. But both of them are also rooted in the idea that you're probably working within a large studio, and so you don't have to worry about business development and marketing and PR the way that an indie developer does as well when you're working on your game. So I kind of presented a production methodology that allows you to prototype the concept of your game, which is something most developers are familiar with, like understanding that prototyping is a process, but what's the information you're trying to get out of that prototyping process? It's not, when you're an independent, it's not just what is my game and what's trying to find the fun or engaging experience, but it's also how long did it take me to execute this prototype, therefore how long is it going to take me to execute the rest of this game, is it feasible, and then also taking into account submitting to major festivals or various PR and marketing opportunities that you really want to take advantage of as you're leading to the launch of your game. What was really interesting is that by the time, I think I presented on the second day of the conference, and so I'd seen a whole lot of talks, which were really awesome, but my experience, right, is very rooted in like make a game and ship it as a developer, and of course there it's like mainly about games as a service and games that you're like building on as they're live with an audience, which is a slightly different mentality. So I kind of like tried to address that, but I realized as I was about to give my talk that there were some things that there are some concepts or like ways to approach design and development that weren't familiar to a lot of the audience there, because their process is often done much more on the fly or live, with an audience, basically. So that was the overview.
And it's interesting, just that last bit, because it's with OUYA we kind of have a mix of both of those kinds of devs. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was really great to hear from developers there. Nothing that's super surprising when you think about the free-to-play space, but that's always good to be reminded of, which is just how much work it is. The successful projects have major updates to their games every month. So it's a very different way of thinking about going about creating your game and how you support your audience. And one of the guys from Spry Fox, who is really well known for Tripletown, they recently released a game on PlayStation Network, Road Not Taken, which is not a free-to-play game. So he was talking about, he's a big advocate for the free-to-play development model, and so he was talking about the difference in the experience of developing those two different types of projects, and then also why ultimately he just really loves doing free-to-play. Because Road Not Taken was like 2 years of just being in development, and then boom, you release everything, and it really, everything comes down to the hype that you set up around the launch of your game, because that's the window in which you're going to see by far the highest number of downloads. Although now we're kind of also seeing on OUYA and on PC like a mix between the two. Like you have games, Neverending Nightmares being a perfect example, where games that are in early access, where they are the traditional type of game where you build it and you release it, but now they're releasing early builds and taking in player feedback, and like it's sort of a combo between the two models, which is really interesting.
So would you say that it sounds like some of the two bigger blockers to a project are managing time and then like managing your launch, or like strategizing an effective launch?
Yeah. Definitely, and the space for independent developers now is so much more competitive than it used to be. And that's one of the huge attractions for Ouya is that it is a platform where you have a much higher chance of being featured because we have all the different channels and we have a relatively smaller marketplace than than the App Store, right, which is ginormous.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like 1 billion apps or whatever that you're competing against? So we're seeing now more partnerships come up in the independent development space to help that business development. I mean, that's what I call a business development aspect of an independent developer, thinking about where you're going to launch your game, when you're going to launch it, how you're going to position it, do you want to raise money or not, those kind of questions. You either have to be interested in doing that stuff yourself and really treat it just like you do any other role on your game, or say there's just no way. I mean, just like you would any other role in your game, there may be you say, I'm not that great an artist. I really want to partner with someone or contract an artist to do the art for my game. It's the same with PR and marketing and business development. So you either want to do it yourself and you feel like you have the skill sets to do it, or you really need to think about hiring someone or partnering with someone to support that because it's very critical.
Would you say that's like off the like when you start working on something you should do that, or are you able to like on the fly, okay, at this point I need a business development person, or should it be something that you just think about from the very beginning, or is it kind of all over the place?
It can be either. I think it is helpful once you have your vertical slice, which is a playable build of your game that showcases the major features and what they're going to feel like in the final version of your game. So it's called a vertical slice because it's this tiny section that might be 5 to 10 minutes long of your final game, but it's polished to like an almost finished level. That's usually a good time to bring in a biz dev person, or that's usually when you would be raising money. Like most people that you raise money from are looking for that kind of prototype. So
yeah, it just helps to have
both at the same time.
Something to show off when you're talking to these people.
Yeah, I mean it's just the best way, and unfortunately, because games are still such a wide open field, there's not a well-established vocabulary of like how you go from, like in Hollywood, like you can talk through how you would go from a script to a final film. There's lots of vocabulary to help express that, and there's not nearly as much in games. So that vertical slice helps show your potential business partner, this is the game I'm making, to get on the same page, and also help you find out, like, is this the right person?
Cool. So that was GDC China. That was probably a long trip, but good thing you don't have any other trips for a while, right?
Actually, Bob, now that you mention it, tomorrow I will be heading to Paris for Game Connection Europe, so I'm really looking forward to something totally different than GDC China and meeting the developers there and like catching up on what they've been up to and how they're thinking about the space. It's always really cool to be able to meet people face to face. You like very quickly get a good, or at least I do. It's the fastest way for me to catch up on things.
Do you have a talk for that one?
I do. I'm actually doing a reprisal of my GDC talk from earlier this year. So I'm talking about kind of the first year at OUYA and what it's been like to build a new game distribution platform.
Can you give us a sneak peek, or are we waiting do we have to wait? we
I'll
have to
say
wait.
you have to wait till next week.
She doesn't want to reveal what it's like working with us on air for the first year.
Okay.
She's going to wait till she's in Paris and we can't hear it. It's me. Would you be hanging out with the Nightlight Interactive guys? You should do like a creepy photo together in the catacombs there.
Yeah, we're they're always closed when I go to visit, but yeah, David and Lee from Nightlight Interactive / Whispering Willows, we're sharing an apartment, so I'm stoked.
Très bien.
Man, those
Lady.
catacombs are scary.
Have you been?
The Louvre, the Apple Store. You can go on that Da Vinci Code Illuminati quest.
Wait,
Oh,
really? Is there a game there? No. I wish there was like an ARG there.
Well, you should totally do the catacombs for Halloween.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're going to be there for Halloween. Do they do Halloween?
No.
No.
Not that I am aware of. I could be wrong.
Yeah. You could bring it to them. When I was a kid, they didn't do it at all.
Yeah. They'll already think I dress horribly anyways as an American, so I might as well.
Cool. What has anyone played any sweet games in the last
Oh,
week?
I have.
Oh, yeah?
Playing the motorbike one, I swear the guy looks like Jared. Yeah, I'll show you guys. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but every time.
What's the name of it?
Motorbike? Here.
Just
Oh, it's
motorbike?
Currently on sale, 50% off.
I see Jared in all the games I play.
Because I'm like just generic white guy. I think I'm part of the Unity toolkit for like just creating people as well.
No, tell me this doesn't look like Jared.
Would you like a vanilla guy to be in your game?
You've got like a Facebook picture or some avatar.
Oh, with the sunglasses.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, it does.
So you change it with like a gray and blue shirt. Yeah, pretty much have it.
Oh, this looks kind of like a Trials. Maybe I
yeah,
shouldn't
just
say
like
that,
Trials.
but-
Yeah.
It's very similar to Trials.
That's cool. It looks great.
It's kind of
Good
addictive.
shout out.
You can find it on Featured.
Well, if you've been following my Twitter feed, you know what I've been playing. Reagan Gorbachev.
You gotta, like a healthy amount of retweets on that.
Yeah.
Well, that post was amazing.
Yeah. You don't have to be, you don't need the best grammar be poignant on Twitter. You just need to make a
You need a
statement.
badass image, and Reagan Gorbachev delivers.
Yeah. That's fair. Should be interesting.
Although no one knew, I was just hearing in my head Jared singing along to the music.
Gorbachev. Oh yeah, there's that intense level. It's like either level 4 or one of the other ones where it's just like.
Yeah.
Did you get Mike to play along with you, or were you doing solo?
I've just been doing solo so far. Our time zones haven't lined up yet. So,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys have been all over the place.
yeah, but really want to play with him.
I did get to play a little bit of Skulls of the Shogun, not to necessarily overplug it for tomorrow. 20% off per week starting tomorrow, but going back to that, I loved it back in the early days on 360. But this is going to be the bona fide edition, which is super cool. So looking forward to seeing people playing that online together.
It's like a
cross-platform play.
Is it like a RTS?
It's turn-based strategy, not RT. It looks like it's real time because there's no grid out there. It's just kind of like a nice, cool painted world. But so yeah, you can do local up to 4 players turn-based games and online as well turn-based.
And you said cross-platform?
Yeah, cross-platform online, so you can play against Steam folks and all that good stuff.
What? We gotta bring it, man. We
We
gotta
will.
rally the OUYA troops.
And upcoming OUYA Presents for sure. Because tomorrow's will be Reagan Gorbachev. So who are you going to play with, Bob?
On what? Reagan Gorbachev? Or
Yeah.
Skulls of the Shogun?
Reagan. Who's going to play with you tomorrow?
It'll either be Matt or Carl. Or Matt
Carl.
will play and I'll be monitoring.
Carl.
Carl's pretty good for that.
Now that I've been catching up on The Walking Dead, that's all I can hear is Rick keeps yelling out Carl's name. Carl!
Carl! Yeah, finally catching up on season 4. I had more time. I want to edit together like just a silly montage of that beginning of the season where he's just like looking out while he's gardening and just kind of giving things a weird look. I just want to like intercut the scene from like Jurassic Park where you see the brontosaurus kind of like doing this thing and then he just goes back to gardening. Like nothing phases Rick at this point. He just does
exactly.
his thing. He's like, ah, okay, I've seen it
The
all.
Walking Dead.
Just keep gardening. But yeah, definitely ranking workshop Skull's the Shogun for me. And it looks like you were playing motorbike, Tim, right?
Yeah, with Jared.
I should just mark that as a multiplayer game because you technically are playing with me. Let's go to change the genre up. Well, speaking of which, we did also start a Get the Party Started playlist. It's got a lot of cool party games there, some favorites from when we did our family game night stuff and a lot of other ones. So if you want to check that out, it's right below the Booyah Spooky playlist. So we have a lot of good ones in there. If you're having friends over, it's a great place to start.
I played too much of Hard Time. So I beat Hard Time. I did all my Hard Time. I did 70 days Hard Time. And then the guards were like, hey, do you want to become a guard? And so now I'm a guard in the prison. You guys should play Hard Time if you haven't played it. Basically.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one for new OUYA Presents.
Yeah.
Now, can you escape? Can you dig a hole and escape prison?
You can. You can
Shawshank it?
You can find a shovel somewhere in the prison and dig out. But then you're just out in like London and but it's like crazy M. Dickey London where there's like just guns and motorcycles and pizza all over the ground. So,
that's like London.
Yeah. That's what I've been.
That reminds me of this party I threw.
Nice.
Next idiot party.
Man, I want to go to that party.
I'm out of topics to talk about. Did I miss anything? Did we cover everything? Tim's usually got something.
Let me see if I go through my GDC China notes. The Monument Valley guys, us two spoke. That was pretty cool to hear. They so I played that game in 2 settings. I didn't realize just how short that game is. They said it's like 19 minutes long.
What?
You just like play straight through. Yeah. It was a premium app. I think it was $3.99. And they sold over 1 million copies in 4 months. So just goes to show you, highly polished but short, still of value.
They had a lot of like it seemed like they had a lot of coverage and press and marketing leading up too.
Yeah, so they're a primarily like design firm. Like they get contracted to do demoable stuff on new platforms, and then also I think UX and UI design kind of stuff. And they have this small team within the company just to make games, almost for like company morale, like just to do something that's theirs and creative, and like maybe try out new ideas that they have about stuff. So it's not. I say that only because it's not like they came out of nowhere. I mean, they probably had a lot of connections and knew the right people to talk to. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful game. I think that's primarily like how they were able to leverage those connections into a lot of coverage because it just looks so nice. But yeah, basically, like they set out, and related to the stuff I was talking about, like they kind of had in their mind they wanted to make this game in a year. They had however many people dedicated to it, like 5 or so. It took them, out of that year, it took them about 7 months. Sorry, it was 10 months total of development time. It took 7 months to figure out the game as you see it today. And then they just spent 3 months executing and like making the levels. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
So for like a total noob, what's the best way to start making connections, you think? I would guess events. It seems like it's so important to get to know people. Could be like an early roadblock for a lot of devs.
It is. I mean, it's like in order to get traction for the game you're working on, you both need to know the right people to connect with, and you also need to have something that's really cool and interesting, right? And that's always I think, kind of the trade-offs you're making as an independent, because, do I spend this week polishing the game I have right now, or do I spend this week going to GDC and connecting with people? And some of that is just, I mean, it really is just like a cost evaluation. Um, I think it's helpful to start getting an idea of who are the people you should know. Um, Different people approach in different ways. That's mine though. I like people in games in general though, so it's not like a hard thing for me to
Hmm.
talk to people that are making games, because I genuinely am interested in everything they're doing. But I always found like it was helpful for me to go to events and just get a lay of the land, like understand who are the important people, like who are the stakeholders at the various distribution platforms. So then when I have my game and like it's ready to be shown, or like it's ready for feedback, then I know who to send it to, instead of waiting for the moment that I have that build and then starting from scratch. I just think that's it's just longer if you can do both things simultaneously. A bit easier.
So if you're gonna go to a convention, do some amount of work before you just start partying. And then you can also meet people at parties too. I mean, theoretically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's an old adage of like when you need money, ask for advice, and when you need advice, ask for money. That I found to be pretty true. Like, just genuinely asking people for advice, meeting people who are more successful than I am, and instead of being jealous of them, like seeing if they will share with me their secret sauce, um, gets me a lot of meaningful connections that have then helped me in the rest of my career, as opposed to the opposite way around, like only reaching out to people when I need help, or need financial help, or need a job or something like that. Then people are a bit more reticent.
What do you think that is that adage because if you go to ask for money, people will be like, nah, but you should probably do this? Is that why that adage exists?
I wonder, like, I don't know for sure, but yeah, I think it's like if you ask for money, then it frames the conversation in this way of someone's going to try and figure out why they shouldn't give you money, right? Like they're evaluating you as an investment instead of just evaluating the idea that you're presenting, and like maybe they can't give you money, but maybe they know other people that do, or maybe they're like, oh man, that your idea is really cool, like you should meet so and so and so and so. That's usually takeaway from any like networking conversation that you want to get to. It's like 3 other people that you should meet.
Then outside of the convention scene stuff, you can also, even local universities, or let's say you graduated from a local university, whether it's computer science or whatever, game design, you can always tap back into those classes or talk to teachers and see if there are students or people who want to work with you or collaborate. They might be able to connect people with you, or even if just any of the local universities, you may not know them, but you could try to reach out to those teachers of those classes and see who may want to work with you. I've seen less success. Not that I've tried, but I see a lot of people posting in a lot of LinkedIn groups about like game development and asking I'm looking for an engineer and this and that, and I never see that many people respond to that, so I don't know how successful that is, but there are a lot of LinkedIn groups like in game development and stuff where people do post quite often. I just don't know how well those actually work out.
And your local IGDA chapter, which we can link to the IGDA website in the notes, International Game Developers Association, they seem to be growing in activity. I don't know, when I graduated from school, like they weren't that big a deal, but it seems like all the local chapters have grown quite a lot, especially internationally. I've heard a lot.
Are you supposed to say IGDA and I've been saying IGDA this whole time?
No, it could be either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Phew.
I'm in
That
Bob's
faux
group.
pas.
I've
I've
committed.
always said IGDA.
Just don't say IG duck. Then you can sell on both
Yeah, yeah.
sides.
No, that's incorrect. But either IGDA or IGDA. Isn't that like we've been like AIDE or AID?
Mm.
Was the confusion for a while.
Tim, you seem to have a pretty large network. Is your network largely built via the interwebs, or do you do like events, or how do you make gamer-related friends?
I make gamer buddies, just helping them. I guess most of mine are online, although I'm connected internationally just because
Because you're a
of all the
boss.
people. Just just talking to people. But we did the conference thing, and it was pretty fun going booth to booth talking to developers. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy I've been talking to." So, and then also forums. So, like when I started out, I was going to like game tutorial forums and then trying to answer like one programming question a day.
Yeah, it is actually. That's a great tip. Is if you can figure out a way to help someone else, that's an awesome way to network. That's kind of fun and like more, maybe a bit easier to do for those of us that are more socially awkward.
And it feels good too.
Yeah, and then there was game jams. So like anytime there
Yes.
was a game contest, I was addicted to those for a long time.
But you kick the habit.
Yep.
They
Well, and then I
have-
went to GameDev.net, and then they have a list of successful projects that you can help out on. So I did that for a while, and then eventually like did so much it went full time. So
Nice. Did you ever do TIG source?
not that one.
Source. Um,
Hmm.
that's one that I've like checked out, but you like have to know your stuff to even get a username there. They like quiz you, like, are you actually a developer? What's this mean? And you're like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah, they got pretty intense.
So I was watching like something about Phil. They were talking about Phil Fish, and it was just basically about like why people either like or don't like him, blah blah blah. But he was just saying that he got a huge start on TigSource, just participating and sharing his opinion and providing feedback and stuff. So
There's a lot of those websites. I tried Geek List, where like every time you post something interesting, you get geek cred and your score goes up.
nice. Geek cred. I'll check that out.
And then I realized like making games and stuff is like between a 1 and 4 year game development process. So it was faster to like make tools in the meantime to fund games. So that's another way to go. Then I got in the whole Unity Asset Source stuff, where the huge marketplace to sell little tools. Anything that's useful for yourself is useful for other people. You can make a little money there. And then just make your stuff cheap, and then you can. It's all about selling quantity versus not quality, but make it in quantity.
Mm. It's cool. We have this like convergence of publishing and programming and all of this stuff to talk about. It's good times. We have 5 more minutes. I don't know if you guys want to get to the real show, or if we should talk about. Should we talk about what everyone came to? No, I'm just kidding. Food game is what I'm talking about. Food game.
Yeah, I think I lose the food game because, oh my god, the food in Shanghai was super weird.
What do you mean the buttered burgers sound amazing?
Yeah, let's hear your.
I really thought, like, I'm a super adventurous eater, and so I really thought that people here who had traveled to China that were talking about just like not being able to eat anything was like, oh, they're just really conservative, but it's just totally different than the food here in a way that's uncomfortable.
So
It's not satisfying.
what was a
So
weird one?
I mean, what I kept thinking was like, gosh, the people that I know, like I need to give Genova a call and ask him now, knowing more, because he grew up in Shanghai, like what he grew up eating, like, yeah, what is the experience then coming here? Because the flavor profile of our food, I think, is just so different. Although I did see one of those like fancy 2-story KFCs. I did not get to eat in it.
I ate in one of those. That was cool.
Was it different? Like, did it taste different, or did it taste?
Is it 2 stories because does Sweeney Todd work there?
Oh.
I think it's just seating up there. It was slightly different. They had like some different items on there. I don't remember what I got that was so strange. But it was about as normal as you could get. I was in Taiwan, so I don't know if that differs slightly. But we had like pizza with.
Different provinces are slightly different from one another, but.
We had like pizza with. I think there was like breaded shrimp on the pizza, which I thought was kind of weird, but it didn't end up being that strange.
No, that's not that weird.
Yeah. And a bowl of tentacles, which was like the Taiwan. You eat Taiwan style with like you have your bowl of rice and then like different things that you can pick from in the middle. And I didn't go for the tentacle bowl, but it was there.
Yeah.
So you're forfeiting this week.
I am forfeiting this week. Next week, though, after Paris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got some recommendations for you, Kelly. I can. I'm sure you got the family recs over there too. But yeah, so I guess your plane food might have been like almost like a welcome home meal. Although maybe.
Right. They did have. What did I flew United, so it was and they actually had really a lot of gluten-free stuff, so that was nice.
Cool.
I like to go vegetarian on those because you get your food before everybody.
Oh yeah, any special meal, you get your food first.
It's nice.
All right. So Kelly forfeits.
Kelly forfeits. Tim Groutman.
All right, so I grabbed a prop.
You brought a prop.
This is my wok spoon for the ultimate making pancakes. I don't know. It's just the shape of the thing. It's like a wok spoon, and like I've got a special green nonstick pan. It's green because it's not the nonstick that causes cancer. It's like the really good green, super green nonstick, and I can make anything on it. And with this special spatula, it's perfect for even if the pancakes are really sticking, they're coming off. And this is the magic spoon to make every meal perfect.
Awesome.
Now available on OUYA.tv.
Oh yes.
A hoodie.
Yeah.
The spatula.
Put a little OUYA here.
Like how you have the tag on it still, like it's a new hat. Wrapper.
It's so good.
I made vegetarian chili, which was good.
Yum.
Super easy. I got a crock pot. It's crock pot season. Look out. I'm going to be crock potting for the next few months up until
Yeah, it's actually cold there.
I'm going to do it till March. Crock pots all day long. What about you, J-Rod? Can you beat?
I think you two are probably going to win. We went to this pumpkin patch yesterday and brought some really amazing pumpkin bread. But as far as something that we ate at home that was interesting, we've been using this baby cook to blend things for a baby, and we made too much of this blended. It was like potato with these heirloom purple and orange and yellow carrots, and so we had to eat the rest of it, and it was actually a delicious heated mush.
Yeah.
So I ate baby food this week, and it was quite good.
That sounds like a good, like a soup,
Yeah. We even did one where we blended pears and broccoli, and I was thinking wow, if you really made more of this pureed, added a little bit of basil and some other seasoning, it could be a pretty good soup. So I would say the most interesting thing was definitely the potato and carrot blend. Everything else was more microwave stuff this week. It was just a busy darn week. So,
do you not season baby, when you're making your own baby food, do you not put in the extra things because a baby's sensory perception is insane or something?
I've heard that you don't want to add or give them anything that's got salt added to it, but again, I'm not an expert, but I just have not added salt or extra seasoning to anything. I don't have an opinion either way. I just haven't done it. Kelly's a bit further along in the child rearing, so she may know a bit more, but yeah.
It's probably about the cleanup afterward. Maybe it's harder to clean up.
That's it. It's just about the cleaning.
Yeah. The baby rice puffs are also actually quite good.
So, I mean, people might say the fix is in, but I'm giving the win to myself, and I think I'm happy with that. I'm not gonna.
I think you deserve it because Tim didn't talk about what he ate. He just talked about his spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, next week if you make something with that spoon, that'll be a contender.
I made pancakes with it. I did mention that. But
Oh, okay.
So you get second place, Tim, because I like pancakes.
Yeah.
now with your
Yeah.
crock pot though, like I use those all the time. Throw in
Yeah.
like a roast beef, chop up some carrots, put in some potatoes. It's good to go. Cook it for 4 hours on low. Man.
You never played that. That would have won. Like.
He never plays the winning one. Yeah, like I had stir fry, then breaks out the frozen burrito. It's like I feel like you're handicapping yourself because you'll beat us every week or something.
Good
Gotta
job.
wash down the caviar with this hot pocket.
Okay. Well, have fun in Paris, Kelly.
Thank you.
Jared, enjoy your baby food.
Yum yum.
And Mr. Tim Grotman, enjoy your spatula and Construct 2 work. And I'll see you guys next week. Does that sound good? Okay.
Sounds great.
Bye,
Happy
everybody.
Halloween, everyone.
Yeah, hey, happy Halloween. Bye.
Bye.
I gotta end.